Hi, this is Michael Ian Denny, the ThunderWizard.com YouTube channel. So, as always, I am coming to you with little to no notice. So, I want to do a teaching about a specific type of rune divination, which I'm finding to be extremely helpful and interesting. I just finished doing one of the Master Shamanism courses, and I uploaded that to the Master Shamanism page, which you can find at thunderwizard.com. And I had so much fun with it that I thought I would do a live one, a class on it here on the channel. Now I go into more depth into the shamanism, Master Shamanism course, but I thought it would be fun to do it here. I know that I'm coming on it last minute, but if people show up, then what I'd like to do is to do a live reading for, somebody who shows up. Let's see, has anybody, I think I'm the only one on here right now. So since this is also being recorded, I'm going to go ahead and share with you some of the background of this. There is a video that I recently did about this particular rune spread, which I'm calling the Nine Worlds Spread. I'm a little confused. It says I'm offline here, so I'm trying to figure out what that's all about. I should be streaming live, so let's see. Why is nothing happening here? Okay, so if anybody's out there, show up. I may end up stopping and restarting this because it's telling me that nobody's out there. I mean, it says that I'm offline. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream now. Hello, it should be working. I don't know. I'm going to give it a few more minutes and see what happens here. Okay. So the way this works is the Nine Worlds Rune Spread is a way to get a snapshot of what is happening with an individual in terms of all of the energies. And I'm having a lot of fun with it, as I said. So, I'll show you again the photo of the Nine Rune Spread here. Which we put here at the header, which is this. So the way that you create this spread is either you ask a question, or if you want to take a look at yourself. Like, if a great way to use it is if you want to know what it is that you need to do in order to get yourself on the right track, or just to see where you're at in terms of a snapshot of your spiritual presence. What you do is you get your runes, and however it is that you shuffle them, depending on what kind of runes that you have. If you have a deck of runes like I do, because I do it on the phone and I don't want people to get distracted by the sound of me shaking runes, so I use the cards. I will shuffle the cards 3 times, and then what I'll do is I will put a card in the center, which represents either me or the person that I'm doing the reading for, and then I start in the top at the north and then just lay out the rest of the 8 cards. Once you have the 9 cards out there, that covers all of the 9 worlds, and then that will give you an idea. So bear in mind again what the 9 worlds are, because each one of the runes that you put out is going to be representative of one of these 9 worlds. Okay, great. So I see that there's 3 people on there. So I am going to choose at random. Well, I don't know how should I do this. Let me just see. I've got 3 people on here right now. Of all of the 3 of you that are on here, let me know if you would like for me to do a rune reading for you bearing in mind that I am going to be sharing publicly what I see. So if I see something personal about it, I will. This is just general. I don't need you to give me a specific question. I just need you to say, yes, take a look at me, and it's going to be a snapshot of how all the 9 worlds are functioning for you. If all 3 of you decide you want it, then I will choose from the rune deck to see who wants it. So while I'm waiting to hear back from those of you who say yes or no, I'm going to once again give some. Okay, Autumn says yes. Keith says yes. And all right, so right now I see Autumn and Keith. So I'm going to choose between Autumn and Keith because both of you have said clearly yes. And I'll see if I can get to Edston's question. All right, so sorry about that, guys. I can only do one, and so I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and choose between Autumn and Keith. So you guys go ahead and think of yourselves, and let me first take a look and see which one I'm going to choose. I won't tell you how I'm going to choose, but I am going to choose based on my own personal method here. And so just give me a second here while I decide who to do a reading for. Okay, and just give me again another second here, going through my own process to figure out who the universe wants me to take a reading of. Okay, it's between Autumn Drown and Keith Boyd. All right, so let's take a look here. Okay, so Keith is the winner, Keith. So Keith, I'm going to go and do a reading for you. So here's what I need from you, Keith. Forgive me while I play around with the technology here to get myself comfortable. Keith, here's what I'm going to need you to do. I want you to just simply open yourself up to anything. Before I do that, anybody out there, if you have access to a pen and a piece of paper, I want you to get it. If I can, I'll try and take a picture of it and post it up here. Again, I'm playing with technology. I might not be able to do that, but at the very least, I'll tell you how or I'll point the camera at it or something so you guys can see it. That's probably what I should do. I'll just point the camera at it. There you go. All right, so Keith, go ahead and just open yourself up to the ancestors. You can be breathing deeply, focusing on the crown chakra here. And let me go ahead and do a reading here. Forgive me if I go out of frame here for a second. Again, I'm going through my process here. What I do is I shuffle 3 times. I'm using cards, so I shuffle. If you're using wooden runes, shake them up. Now, what's happening now is there's a card that's wanting to come out. So even though I've shuffled once, this card needs to come out because it's trying to, so I'm going to let it. This will go in the center. Okay, and then let me continue with my shuffling. You do it 3 times because the first one is for Odin, second one is for Vili, third one is for Ve. 3 represents the 3 realms, physical, psychological, and spiritual, represents the 3 Dantians, the 3 selves, the 3 centers, represents the 3 selves of Odin. Once again, another card is trying to come out here, so I'm going to pull it out here. That'll go in the north. And then, let's see here, I'll just go ahead. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay these out, so give me a second while I go out of frame. What I do is I put the first one down in the center, and then I start in the north, and I go clockwise until I've got all 9 of them down there. So give me a second. Okay, so now I've got an idea here. Let's see. This will be interesting. All right, so I'm going to take the camera. See if I do this right. I'm going to take the camera and show you the rune layout here. So, can you see all of those? I think you can see it. So go ahead and if you need to, put this on a piece of paper. In the center, you've got Yuhuaj, then you have Laguj in the north, Nautij in the northeast, Ehwaj in the east, Raito in the southeast, Dayaz in the south, upside down Wunjo in. Oh, you guys probably can't hear me. Here I am talking to nobody. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Anyway, so that's the layout. All right, so I'm going to be referring to that as I continue here. Okay, so how this works is we are doing a few different things, and in the Master Shamanism class we're going to go very deep. But for right now, we're just going to talk about the first level of how to do this kind of divination. So each one of the runes is representing how the energy is functioning from each of the 9 worlds. The center is where you are at. So I'm going to go ahead, Keith, and just talk directly to you, just like I'm giving you a reading here. So if we were on the phone, I might be asking you some questions about your life, but this way, you don't have to tell me, and tell a bunch of people a bunch of personal stuff. So we want to focus our eyes at the center, and at the center we've got Yuhuaj, which is the rune of dynamic transformation. It's the most powerful rune in all of the runes. By powerful, I mean the most dynamic. And this means that you are going through radical transformation, and this is happening. You're experiencing it on a personal level. It's not like just a part of you is going through transformation. It's like you're having the experience that you are going through a huge transformation. So transformation is different for everybody. It's usually very challenging for most people. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it usually is pretty challenging. If it comes up in a reading, let's say if I'm looking at somebody, and they want to know about a relationship, or they want to know how does somebody feel about me, that kind of thing, this comes up, I go, ooh, somebody's angry with you, or there's a conflict. So it can also represent a lot of conflict. So I don't know what your experience is, if you're experiencing conflict or not, but at the very least you are experiencing radical transformation. So now moving into the north. The north is, we have Laguj. This is an interesting rune for Niflheim, because Niflheim is the realm of the primordial waters. It is the realm of pure potential. It's the closest thing we get to Gununga Gap in the manifestive realm. Gununga Gap is even more intense than this, but this is where energy is pure potential, and it's getting ready to manifest. So it's a very powerful state. So you have probably the best rune for that, which is Laguj. So you have a lot of resources that are very fluid, and they're ready to be manifest. Now we move into the northeast, where we have Nautij. So I'm going to just keep going back and forth. If we had a photo, I would keep going back and forth, but I want you guys to stay current with where I'm at. So take a look here. We're now at Nautij, which is in the northeast. Okay, so we're at Nautij in the northeast. So Nautij is an interesting rune. It's one of those runes that, your typical rune book, if you find, they'll say, Nautij means stop, danger, they'll say that kind of stuff. Listen, let me just clear up something. There's no such thing as a bad rune. It doesn't exist. The runes are only expressing what is going on with energy. And number two, within every, even if it's a bad rune, it is showing you where the strengths are and where the power is. Now, Nautij is a very powerful rune because it is the rune of need. And need is the mother of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. Need is where we invent. It's where we branch out. So this rune is in the realm of Asgard, which is the celestial deities. So the celestial deities represents inspiration, represents the power for us to be inspired towards our highest potential. Now, Asgard is a realm of timelessness. So, you know, when it comes to inspiration, inspiration can be from the deities, from the celestial deities, can be very almost, you know, two-sided. The celestial deities are like children in that they don't live in time and space. They live in the eternal moment that's happening right now. So they're a lot like children in that way. So there's a lot of purity and innocence there. So we have some block there, which means that in order to experience inspiration, in order to experience the celestial deities, you need to find a new way to do that. That's what need means. Need means you are in need of creating an alternative, inventing something new. So whenever it comes up, it means, how can I do this differently? So we experience it as constriction, we experience it as frustration, we experience it as I can't move, I wish I could do this, and we get frustrated. So instead of getting frustrated, you stop and you go, how can I do this differently? Now again, I'm not asking you personal questions, so I don't know how this pertains, but you know, if this has to do with your connection with the celestial deities, and you're having some frustration, then the way to do that is to ask yourself, or to ask the deities, how can I experience you differently? How can I experience inspiration differently? Okay? So now we're going to move on to the next rune, which is in the east, which is Ehwaz. Okay, so the next rune is Ehwaz, which is in the east. Now, Ehwaz here is very happy because Ehwaz naturally lives in the east. It's the spiritual, you know, you've got the 3 eights. So in the third eight, let me double check that. Yeah, in the third eight, you have Ehwaz. By the way, if I haven't said so already, there's something else that you need to do when you're doing this kind of reading, which is you need to have this picture to use. Now, it's in some of my books, but, you know, find it somewhere. What we're doing here is going to be recorded, so if you need to go back and pause it and take a screenshot or draw it on a piece of paper, you can. Let me just show you that very briefly. But this is one of the maps that we use to see where the runes are at. Okay, so as you can see, Ehwaz is very happy in the east. It's the spiritual, you know, we've got physical, psychological, and spiritual. The third eight has to do with spiritual energies. So in the east, you've got Ehwaz, which is intuition, and it is trust. What it really represents is a merging, a unity between the human being and the gods. You know, it's a rune of shamans because it's that the human being is being mounted by the god. And as you know, anybody who's ridden horses, you know, there's an intuitive connection. You know, I remember once when I was a kid, I was a teenager, and I had a girlfriend, and she was a whatever show horse, or, you know, rode horses in shows, I forget. She had this trained horse, and I had never ridden a horse before. And she said, don't worry, just sit on him. He'll know exactly where you want to go. Just think about where you want to go, and he'll go there. And I'm like, how is that possible? With no reins, I just sat on it bareback, and sure enough, all I did was think about where I wanted to go, and the horse would go exactly where I wanted. Because, of course, what, you know, I didn't realize is that I was subtly giving cues with my body just because I was thinking about it. and the horse knew exactly where to go. So when this comes up, it means, you know, especially if we're asking about an individual, it means at the very least it means trust. So it means that you are trusting the forces that are connecting you to your identity. The East is the realm of the giants, but it is lorded over by Thunar. Thunar is a deity of personal boundaries. And so this means, and this has to do with your identity. As energy is coming into the universe, it hits, and it's coming in clockwise, it comes into the east. This is the individual's identity is starting to form. And this is the highest realm of that. So your identity is fusing very nicely with your boundaries, your sense of self. You have a lot of trust. Trust in Thunar, trust in the universe in terms of your identity. So that's a good spot. So let's go further. The next one is going to be in the southeast. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we've got in the southeast we have Raito. Raito is the rune of right action. It's a rune of law. It's when this rune comes up upside down, depending on the context, it can mean that the person is breaking the law. So it could be, it could mean lawlessness. So the southeast is the realm of the dwarves, which are the masters of intention, the masters of the subconscious mind. We have three minds when we're talking about this. We have the superconscious, or the higher awareness. Sorry, we probably have more, but we have the higher consciousness, which is connected with the upper centers, the third eye, which connects us to the elves, the ascended masters, and the gods. We have the lower self, which has the unconscious and the subconscious, and then we have the middle self, which is our self. Now, within the lower realm, we have the subconscious and the unconscious. The conscious mind is here in our soul. So it's the conscious mind that communicates. My conscious mind is communicating with all of you. If I am aligned with my other consciousnesses, my upper, lower, and middle consciousness, if they're aligned, then I will have the ability to intuit what's coming to me from the ascended masters or the spiritual realm. I will be able to use my subconscious mind to channel that information through my conscious mind. When those three selves are not connected, then we have people who can't connect to other realms, and they're usually very confused and very unhappy because the middle self, the conscious mind, is disconnected. And this is where we get like people who don't trust, people who, atheists, agnostics, are, not to say all atheists and agnostics are like this, but when you find somebody who just doesn't believe and refuses to believe in anything if it's not right in front of them, one of the possibilities is that their conscious mind is not connected to the other two, which means that they won't have an intuitive understanding that, hey, there's more to this. They won't be able to intuit what other people are feeling. They'll be locked into their own little prison of their own awareness. It's a very lonely place to be. So your subconscious mind, again, we've got the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious in terms of conscious realms. The conscious mind is you that's listening to me now, the person that talks and listens. The subconscious is just below, it bounces up just below the surface, and so it kind of comes up and goes down. It's like the what do you call that? The iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is the conscious mind. The subconscious is where the sea kind of bounces up and down. That's where the subconscious mind. In the subconscious mind, you have all of your things like your address, your PIN number, your birth date, your wife's birthday, hopefully, your mother's birthday, what did I say? Your address, your phone number, all that kind of stuff. The stuff that you're not thinking about consciously, but it's right there when you need it. That's the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind has a lot of information. And that's where intention comes in, because when you make an intention, what happens is, especially if there's an emotion attached to it, the subconscious mind then begins to go and create it. Now, if it's something you're really interested in, you may not be consciously thinking about it, but your subconscious mind is working to intend it. So what I see here is that your conscious mind is on the right track. Excuse me, your subconscious mind is on the right track. It's going in the right direction. This means you have the ability to manifest, whether you realize it or not, you have the ability to manifest your intentions. Okay, so let's continue on to the south. And in the south we have Dayaj. Now the south is the realm of fire. It is the realm of the willpower. It is the realm of action. It is the realm of the warrior. Warrior is all about action, and so we want to have a rune there that's going to give us a lot of energy, because it means you're going to be able to take action on what it is you're supposed to do. Now you have a great rune there, which is Dayaj. Dayaj cannot be blocked. It's the sunlight. I mean, even put clouds overhead, the sunlight is still going to come through, so the power of the sun is very strong, and it represents being in the moment and having fun. So at the very least, you have the opportunity to take action in the moment based on joy, based on a bright spiritual connection to yourself. So that is a very good placement, because without action, we can't really get anything done. So again, we're seeing a lot of good things here. Just so far, taking a small little litmus test here. Even though it says that you're going through transformation, and again, I haven't heard from you, and we don't need to get into that. We don't have a lot of time. But even though you're going through transformation, you have a lot of things working for you, especially when it comes to your ability to take action. That's working for you very well. So now let's move on to the southwest. Here's where we might be running into why there's some potential conflict and transformation. So let's take a look. Okay, so the southwest. So as you see in the southwest, we have Wunjo reversed. The southwest is the unconscious mind. It is the underworld. It is Helheim. It is where the soul goes when it needs to work through the unresolved desires and attachments that we had in life. By the way, once again, the reason that we reincarnate is not because we are being punished because of bad karma. There's no such thing as bad karma. There's just karma. There's just the results of your actions. That's all karma is. You choose to decide whether it's positive or negative. If it's pleasant, it's because you've been taking actions that are in alignment with your highest joy. That's it. Not God's will or the universe's will. Your highest joy. And this is the biggest problem when it comes to health. Health, if I can boil it down to one thing, all health issues stem from one thing, which is not following your deepest joy. When you are in conflict with your deepest joy, and you either live for other people, or you live for ideas in your head, or you are responding to false ideas that you're not worthy or you're a bad person, and what happens is we get angry and we get in conflict with ourselves. So when we act in ways that are contrary to our highest happiness, then what ends up happening is we create a conflict within the either the mind or the soul and or the body, and the body, maybe sometimes decades later, will show this conflict in the physical body. Anyway, having said that, I'm not saying that applies to you, but Now, this may be where the conflict lies because we have sadness. We have joy turned on its head, which is sadness. It also represents not having your expectations met. It represents, can represent depression. It can represent disappointment. You know, I see this, you know, when somebody asks, I'm going on a date for the first time with somebody I met online. What am I going to think of them? When that comes up, I know they're going to be disappointed. I don't necessarily tell them that, but I know that they're going to be disappointed. And then when I talk to them a week later, I found out, sure enough, it was like, he wasn't that good looking, or I didn't like him, or he smelled funny, or whatever it was. So there's some disappointment, some sadness that you're going through at a very deep level in your unconscious mind, which has to do with, you know, either past issues based on this present lifetime or even past lifetimes. And so that is causing conflict. Now, it's interesting because you have a lot of things working for you in a lot of other realms, but you have this sadness here in, you know, the root, which is the unconscious. The unconscious is the root of all of our troubles, all of them. So this is why meditation is so important. This is why working with a teacher or a counselor, this is why constantly taking a litmus test on, you know, where you're at emotionally, not denying your emotions. That's extremely important to keep the unconscious mind working for you. If the unconscious mind is not working for us, it is working against us. There's no middle ground. So that doesn't mean anything. We all go through all kinds of things. This is, by the way, this is a snapshot. Anybody watching this, this is a snapshot of where this individual is at right now. And that could change even just by listening to this reading. All of these could be changing, you know, it's like musical chairs. So that, anyway, you know better than I do what that means, but there's something to think about. Okay, so let's move into the next realm, which is in the west, which is Vanaheim, and let's see what rune is there. Okay, so in the west we have Gebo. Gebo, and by the way, that is a very good placement for Gebo. In fact, that is the natural place for Gebo in the first. So on the physical level, that rune has fallen into its natural home. So that means on a physical level, at the very least, you're living in a state of equilibrium, a state of balanced equilibrium where energy can flow back and forth. Now, this is a great placement because, as you can see, it connects directly. You know, they all focus on the center, but this means that you have energy coming from the realm of the Vanir, which can work for you to help ease you through whatever your transformation is. I don't know if you're having a difficult time or an exciting time. It could be exciting to go through the transformation. But the Vanir are here to help you with that. The Vanir are all about pleasure, whether it be physical pleasure, emotional pleasure, artistic pleasure, relaxation. So, you know, the good thing is that you have on the east, you have Ehwaj, and that is working in concert with Gebo in the west, and that is bringing a calming influence on the center where there is this transformation going on. So, you know, I talked a lot about, in the Master Shamanism class, I talked a lot about the West and the Vanir, and that they're the gods of experience. They live in time as opposed to the Aesir, who live in timelessness. That's why they fight, because the perfection of timelessness does not want to be sullied by the imperfection of time. But the Vanir want to live in this imperfection. They want to live in the physical realm and experience the physical realm. And as such, that's why they're the elder gods, because they've been here through time and they have all this experience and wisdom. So there's a lot of wisdom flowing to you there. Now, Gebo is the realm of giving without expectation, giving freely, giving a gift. So that's working for you as well. And that's obviously something that will help through this transformation. Now, the next one is one of the most important ones, and we're going to take a look at that, which is the northeast. It's the last rune. And as I'm looking at it here, you've got an excellent one working for you. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we've got pair throw in the northwest. The northwest is the realm of the Alfar, the elves, the shining ones, the ascended masters. And having a rune there working for you really well is excellent, because the elves are saying you are in perfect alignment with your Orlog, with your destiny. From the perspective of the elves, this transformation is exactly where you need to be, and it's something that you have destined for yourself before you were born. Before you were born, your soul created whatever this transformation is that you're experiencing, and the elves are saying, right on, you're right on target there. That's really good to know, because lots of times, I'll look at readings where there'll be all kinds of stuff going on, but when I see that, especially that rune, that's one of the best runes to have there. That means that the elves are like, you're right on target. I know it's difficult, but trust me, this is all going to work out. By the way, when it comes to working through transformation and difficulty, this is something that's happening now. We are going through major shifts, and astrologically speaking, everything is getting turned on its head. Everything. So, everybody is going through some kind of major transformation. For some, it's more challenging than others. But this is why it's so important to stay committed to your practice, and to stay consistent, and to do your practice, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day. If you've worked with me and I've given you a mantra, or if I've given you a ritual to do, even if you only have a few minutes a day to do it, and you're going through a lot, do it. Because what ends up happening is that when we go through the challenging periods, that sets the foundation for years to come. So if you stay consistent and do your spiritual practice during the difficult times, then the following years you will benefit from that. It's like planting a seed; you will benefit from it. Sometimes for a decade or decades beyond. So there are the 9 worlds. I went through that pretty quickly. Now there's an even more advanced way, which I'll let you guys figure out, which is you figure out which rune is in which of the 3 realms. So take a look here. We've got physical, psychological, and spiritual. The first state is physical, the second is psychological, and the third is spiritual. I'm going to show you the map here so you can see where they all are on the map, and that's one of the reasons you use it, is because you look to see which is being affected in the reading. Is it physical, psychological, or spiritual? So here's again the rune wheel map. Okay, so just from the realm of the center, which is the focal point of the reading. In your reading, we have Yuhuaj, which is transformation. So if you look at the map, you see that Yuhuaj is right there in the psychological realm. It's right smack dab in the middle of all of the runes. It is the center focal point of who we are, and our, how we function, and our journey in this life. It's in the psychological realm that we really have to make the most evolution in order for the physical and the spiritual to kick in and do their jobs. So when I look at that, I see that what you are going through in terms of your transformation is happening on a psychological level, an emotional level, a mental level. And again, that can be very challenging. But even if you're in alignment, it's still very exciting. It's a very exciting thing. So as I said, if this were a private reading, I would ask you a bunch of questions, and I don't want to take up the time for that. You're welcome to contact me if you want to go deeper. You can. but there's just an idea of how to use this rune wheel. And so again, what I just did now is I looked at the center and I saw that what was the main focus of this reading was that this was happening on a psychological level. If I were to look at some of the other worlds, I would see whether he's being affected spiritually or whether he's being affected physically, you know, what the real source of it is. You guys can figure that out if you want to do readings for yourself. So let me just take a look here and see what's going on in terms of the questions. And let me go take a look here. All right. All right, so you guys have been listening very patiently, it seems. How many people are on here? Is it going to tell me? I don't know. I'm not doing well with technology these days. It's not telling me how many people are online. So anyway, if there's anybody online, let me know if you're still there. Because on my side it says I'm not even online. So I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any questions here that I can answer. Let's see. Edston Allward is asking a question. Do you know of the channel quartz crystal? No, I don't know about that channel. I can't answer that for you. I don't know anything about that channel. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't say anything. Because, you know, that's a very kind of a personal gnosis kind of a thing. So I don't really want to, you know, make a judgment one way or another about somebody's channeling experience. Okay, Keith Boyd says he's still here. Autumn says thank you for the experience. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. While I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about persistence and about dedication and how important all of that is. Yeah, again, it's not telling me how many people are on, so I'm just assuming you guys are still there. So there's a shift that happened. You know, when we hear about the shift to the Aquarian age, when we hear about the shift to Ascension, when we hear about you know, whether it's the Mayan calendar or all that kind of stuff, that shift has occurred. It's no longer something that's going to occur in the future. It is here. And here's the way these shifts work. All the rules change. So let's talk a little bit about, forgive me while I reach over and get my cards. No. Okay, so the way that this works is that the rules of the Piscean age no longer apply, at least not all of them. So the Piscean age, and some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about as I explain. Excuse me. The Piscean age is started right when Christianity came into being. There's a reason why the symbol for Christianity is a fish. It's because it's the symbol of the Piscean age. And Christianity is, you know, is about self-sacrifice in a huge way. It's about being subservient to something greater than yourself, whether it be the government or higher knowledge or whatever it is. And of course, there's positives and negatives to that. But, you know, that's why Jesus is nailed to a cross. I mean, even in churches, he's nailed to the cross. It's this destruction of the ego, the destruction of the self. Of course, it also had to do with the age of empires. So during the age of Pisces, the way to become successful is to get a lot of stuff and to have a lot of people underneath you, to have a lot of money, a lot of land, you know. And so this is why we entered in around, around 2,000 years ago, we entered into this age of empires, which we're still in. So we're coming out of that. The age of Aquarius is not the age of dominating other people, which was the Piscean age was all about that. Either how to avoid that or the karma of that or whatever. The age of Aquarius is about being able to cooperate, have your own identity. Again, the Piscean age was about giving up your identity and being part of, the rat race. The Aquarian age is about having your identity and being cooperative, being yourself but cooperating with other people. So you're going to see more things like co-ops. You're going to see more things like, you see it now. There are people that are wanting to barter. They don't want money. They want to barter. They want to come together as a community. And these things are popping up. Some of you may know about them. I mean, I know a few people that, have mentioned that kind of thing. And there's a lot of people who want to make those kinds of things where it's just a group of people and we live out in the woods and we farm and this is the Aquarian age. So this shift from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age is incredibly challenging. It's going to be challenging for those people who are holding on to the Piscean mindset, which is I need money, I need authority, I need popularity, I need stuff, I need to have a 401k, I need to have savings, I need to have property. This is the Piscean mindset, and this mindset will not work in the Aquarian age. People who go after wealth are going to be very challenged, and I could name tons of celebrities, some still living, some who have recently passed, who did not make this shift well, and they had all kinds of stuff and were the most miserable people on the planet. So that's where we're going. So if you're going through a transition, you are probably being challenged on things that connect to that. That could mean as simple as, where am I going to get my money? I'm not making enough money. I need more security. It could be that you are still trying to meet other people's expectations, like your parents or society or your friends. It could mean that you are not following your true path because that's silly, it's not right, people will judge you. Those kinds of things. Those are some typical things I hear from people who are trying to hold on to the Piscean age. If you're in the Aquarian age, the way to be comfortable is to, number one, know that what you need will be brought to you. One of the symbols of the Aquarian age is the water bearer. And there's only so much water you can drink at one time, right? If you're living next to a stream, it's coming past you, and when you need it, you go in and you get what you need. So that represents emotion. Water always represents emotion. So the Aquarian age is going to be an age of being connected to your emotions, where the Piscean age is like the fish underwater. Stuff that stuff down. Don't let those emotions come out. Turn that frown upside down. I don't want to hear any of that negativity. That's not going to be the case now. So people who aren't current with their emotions on a momentary basis, they're going to see a lot of problems. The body will immediately react to that. People will get sick immediately. If you've noticed, even though science says that it's coming up with these new and amazing treat cancer, we have more cancer than ever. And that's a result of people stuffing their feelings down, That's one way, at least to one degree. So anyway, I'm willing to take some questions now. I thought I'd talk about that. Will the Aquarian age eventually get rid of money? I don't know. But I do know that whatever experience we have with money will be different. For instance, myself, I'm 53. I don't have any savings. I don't have any of that stuff. But I'm very happy. I'm very healthy. I can live wherever I want. I work for myself. So in some sense, I have a lot more wealth than I would have if I was stuck in a job. For instance, I knew a friend of mine who recently was he had this job. He had a 6-figure job, and he couldn't leave, and he was miserable. And he ended up getting really sick because he couldn't walk away from that 6-figure income. It was just too much for him. So that's what I mean. The Aquarian age is knowing that the universe will provide at any moment for whatever you need. It's following, you know, I'm not saying people won't be rich or whatever, but it's living in the flow. And you know, our ancestors, our shamanic ancestors, especially our hunter-gatherer ancestors, understood that this was part of life. You know, if you went and killed a bunch of, you know, buffalo or something and just tried to store it in the middle of the field, I mean, it's just going to rot. It's a waste. It doesn't, it's going to make people sick. It's going to create disease. So you don't want too much stuff. It starts to rot. You want one at a time, and another one will come when you need it. So let's see, any questions here? Will I be posting lessons 8 and 9 of the Sunwheel Magic Apprenticeship online? No, thank you for asking. That was something I did a long time ago. The lessons that we're doing for that are now in the Master Shamanism class. And so of any of those people, if you haven't subscribed and you want to subscribe, you just go to thunderwizard.com. It'll take you to the Master Shamanism class. And when you sign up, scroll all the way to the bottom. And when you get to the bottom, it'll say more videos. Just keep clicking more videos till you get to the bottom. Start at the bottom and work your way up. I work through all of the 9 worlds. Maybe some differences there, but you know, as time goes on, I've gotten more clear. So to answer your question, no. If you want to do that, go to the thunderwizard.com. Go to the Master Shamanism class. I don't even own that website anymore. The Magic Wheel Apprenticeship. I don't even own that website. Somebody else owns it. So, but I'm still glad it's out there. Anyway, so there's that question. Any other questions? Let's see. How are we doing on time? How are we doing on time? We are, oh, because the thing says I'm on offline, it's not telling me how long I've been online. This is so weird. Okay, so any other questions? Let me see. I'll keep talking. I'll keep myself busy while I'm thinking about that. Persistence. When you're going through transformation, it is extremely important that, and did I say this on this? I talked about it in the I just posted an advanced class online, so I may be repeating myself. But it's extremely important when you're going through transformation that you communicate with somebody. This is why it's good to have a teacher, because a teacher is going to be able to help you through that. It's virtually impossible to go through transformation when you're learning something. It's virtually impossible to do it alone. I don't say that in, look, I'm not saying that because I'm trying to get a ton of apprentices. The truth of the matter is that if it were up to me, I would just simply surf all day and I wouldn't do anything. But this is, and I enjoy teaching, but my first priority is my own happiness. And teaching is something that I do to follow my destiny, my orlog, and my dharma, my path. But having said that, if you're going to go through a transformational teaching, you're going to have somebody to talk to. Because there's going to come a point where you won't have the ability to objectively know what to do next. And it's when, in my experience, when people are on the verge of real transformation, that's when they end up leaving. And, you know, I understand, because the inertia that's involved, we don't want to push past it. Then if we have unconscious patterns that, you know, especially self-sabotaging patterns, they have really got in there. And so it's going to be difficult and frightening and painful. And there's going to be a big part of your instinctual mind, your unconscious mind, is trying to protect you, it thinks, and it's going to try and get you out of the teaching. So I talked about, you know, taking contrary action, which is, you know, when you feel like it's time to not do this anymore, you should do the exact opposite. That's not the case all the time, but when you're in resistance to your growth, you know, it's good to act in ways that go against, you know, what your unconscious mind is trying to keep you from doing. You know, it's like, you know, when you want to get in shape and your body says, I'm too tired, I want to eat crackers, you know, probably good to get up off your rear end and go to the gym. That's what I mean. That's all I'm saying. So that's something else to be thinking of. So let's see if there's any questions that have come up while I've been talking. How do we get through Holy Week with all of the emphasis on Jesus' sacrifice? I'm respectful of people's religions, but it's just annoying. Hi, Renee. Well, I mean, I don't know. I live alone, and I've been disconnected from Christianity for so long that it doesn't really touch me. But if you have family and they get into it, the best way, remember that Holy Week, meaning Easter. By the way, the word Easter is a direct word directly from the English language of English paganism. Ostre, Eostre, Easter. Easter was the goddess of the sunrise. And so in Easter, it was a spring celebration. The Easter bunny comes from Germanic paganism, you know, because the bunny represents what? It represents fertility, because bunnies like to procreate. So, and the Easter eggs, all of this has to do with fertility and procreation, having little kids, you know, hunt for Easter eggs. That all comes from pre-Christian paganism. So a lot of Easter is already connected to, you know, this, our ancestors' religion. You know, the focus on Easter, even though, you know, if you choose to believe that Jesus existed, if that were true, his resurrection didn't coincide with Easter, and his birth didn't coincide with the solstice. These were things that were imposed upon things that already existed. So the resurrection means the resurrection of the sun, the sun coming back and bringing warmth. So focusing on regeneration, resurrection, you can still do that if you see Jesus simply as a symbol of that. You can still use that, and it'll still work for you. So there's that. All right. I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if I'm still online or if this thing is working. I see it on there. I don't know how many people are still online. So I'll give it a couple seconds more to see if there's any other questions that I can answer. Keith says that my reading was dead on. Well, it wasn't my reading, it was his reading. But thank you, Keith. That's helpful for me to hear, because that knows that, you know, I'm doing something right anyway. Renee says thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that we're running out of questions here. So if you want to experience the Master Shamanism course, go to thunderwizard.com. If you want a Vedic astrological reading, which I strongly recommend, I am doing a special just for the month of April, where instead of I was charging 108, I'm only going to charge 69 for a Vedic astrological reading. I am getting kind of booked up, so you know, the earlier the better. Let's see. The Vedic astrological readings are extremely helpful. Ask anyone who's had one from me. You know, I don't focus on frivolous stuff. I focus on practical things that you can do. Mantras, energies, practices, rituals, things that you can do to actually get more out of life right now, this second. That's what I'm interested in. And so there's that. So let's see, what else? Please continue to watch the channel, like, subscribe, share with others. Autumn says I've been very informative. Thank you very much. And so that's it for now. I honestly don't know. I know that some people are watching. I don't know if this is going to get recorded or not. It'll be interesting, but hopefully this will be archived and available in case you haven't seen it. Until then, if you have any questions, please put them into the video comments. If you want to contact me personally, like email, those are preferred. People who want, some kind of business transaction, like you want a private session or a Vedic reading or something like that. If you just have a general question, put it in the videos, because then everybody can benefit from the discussion. That's it for now. So we're just getting started, my friends. Thank you so much. Until next time, may the ancestors be with you, and we will continue to go in more deeply into these rune readings as time goes on. So thank you very much, my friends, for staying up with me. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.